Hey everyone, it's Kothis, and today I wanted to do a guide on this week's featured Grandmaster Nightfall, the Glassway. My team just completed our first run on our first try with a pretty solid team composition. And just as an FYI, this week's weapon is the DFA, and you do need to be 1595 power to even attempt Grandmasters. So with that out of the way, let's get right into it. First off, let's start with team composition. There are tons of ways that you can get this done, but this is what my group found out to work pretty well. We had a Well of Radiance Warlock running Phoenix Protocol for quick wells, another Warlock running Osmeomancy gloves for nearly on-command Bleak Watcher Stasis turrets, and I was running Omnioculus Hunter to provide support by having pretty much on-command invisibility when needed. As for weapons, our Solar Warlock ran Witherhoard, Doom of Chelchis, and a Corrective Measure machine gun. The Stasis Warlock ran Tears of Contrition, a scout rifle, Monarque, and a solar machine gun. Lastly, I used the Tears of Contrition, Divinity, and Fixed Odds machine gun. So plenty of champion control in there. Divinity having intrinsic overload is great for instant stuns and an easy bubble for everyone to hit as well. Monarque, also amazing, one of the best weapons in the game. Having a good blend of all damage types here is key as well, since all damage types are present. I will say, after completing this, we realized that one or two people with solar rockets probably could have made the boss a bit quicker, but it did work fine. Machine guns are nice for overload as well, so it didn't really make that much of a difference. I will say that linear fusions, in my opinion, are not optimal for the boss room, since the charge time and precision targeting required is extremely risky. But let's get into the strike with all that out of the way. The Glassway is surprisingly extremely easy up until the boss, which is a super long fight. It took us about 25 minutes on the boss alone, so just get ready for it. For the most part, the strategy for the entire strike should be slow and steady, hanging back whenever you can. There really aren't any difficult parts for the majority of the strike, but the plate encounter before the boss room can be tough if you don't know what you're doing. Alright, so starting off, obviously, take your Sparrow right to the first set of rooms. You'll have one Overload Captain and a few adds in the first group, with a Barrier, Servitor, and Overload Captain before the first wall. In the first mini-boss room, there is only one Overload champion along with the few adds and obviously the mini-boss. We just put a well in the back to easily pick everything off. Obviously focus the champion first, then get the mini-boss down. This is not very difficult. After this, you will reach the second mini-boss style room. We put a well also in the back right here and picked off the Overload Captain first. Once the mini-boss gets low on health, a Barrier Servitor will spawn in. Nothing special here, just take out the Barrier, adds, and mini-boss, and then you can head to the next area. In the big open area, you will have two Overload Captains to deal with. Only one spawns in at a time, so you don't have to deal with two at the same time, which is pretty nice. Just hang together and team shoot the captains and move on to the Vex Milk Pool. This is the first part of the strike where you will need to incorporate a bit of strategy. Normally, when you're running the strike, most teams just hang on the plate the entire time. Thankfully for the Grandmaster, you do not need to do this. Stepping on the plate for just a few seconds will only spawn in one group of enemies. The moment you start to see enemies pour in from the roof area, step off the plate and hide in the back. Feel free to drop a well here if things get sketchy, use your supers, it doesn't really matter. Just rinse and repeat this until the pool is drained. Once the pool is drained, an Overload Captain will spawn in front of you. Take care of that along with the many snipers that will be pouring in from the rooftops. Same strategy here that we've been doing the whole time. Stay back and clear the room safely. Once about half the room is cleared, a Barrier Servitor will appear from the rooftops toward the boss door. The snipers are still your biggest threat here, so hold off on pushing the Servitor if you can. Once the room is cleared, it's time for the boss encounter. Once you make it to the boss room, you will be greeted with a few enemies and an overload captain. And once this captain is killed, the boss fight will start. So make sure that everything is reloaded and that you have your supers ready if possible. At the start of the fight, the boss, mini-boss, and 2 overload minotaurs will spawn in. The overloads need to be taken care of as a first priority. Staying in cover in the left room is the safest area by far, and you need to try to bottleneck the enemies as best you can into this doorway leading out to the middle area. Stasis turrets do amazing things for you here. I know Stasis does have weird interactions with champions, but keeping them completely immobilized is by far more important than killing them just a couple seconds quicker. Overloads are extremely unpredictable in both their movement and their stun recovery, so freezing them is great. The biggest tip here is to make sure you take out the overload minotaurs before doing too much damage to the mini Hydra boss. If too much damage is done to the boss, even more champions will spawn in, which is absolutely not what you want. So deal with the champions, then work on the mini boss Hydra, then take out the next wave of overloads that will spawn in, as well as the adds. Once the first 2 sets of overloads are cleared and the mini Hydra boss takes to the void, you'll see it show up in the chat. You will only be dealing with the boss until he hits his first damage breakpoint. Normally, you want to try to stick together throughout this whole encounter, but when you're only dealing damage to the boss, if he's the only enemy in the room, it's actually best for everyone to split up. The boss does a ton of damage extremely quickly, so if you're all bundled up together, you will die together. We mainly used our primary weapons to kind of plink down his damage. It does take a while, but it's relatively safe. Anti-barrier scout also makes this easy since you can shoot right through the shield. Don't worry about hitting his crit spot too much, just try to damage him at whatever safe angle you can. Staying alive is the most important. Do your best to have everyone's supers and abilities regenerated before getting his health to that first breakpoint. So once you get the boss to that first breakpoint, phase 2 starts, now with wyverns added. This is even more tough than the first phase by a pretty good amount, and the wyverns are just as annoying as ever. So if you are staying in the left room, as you should be, we found that 2 people guarding the door leading to that middle area with stasis turrets ready to go was best. The 3rd player should be looking towards the side, making sure that no enemies try to flank you. Occasionally the wyverns will try to make their way in through that door, so having a lookout is extremely important. The mini Hydra will try to enter the room that you're in along with the wyverns. It is extremely chaotic. Thankfully, at least the barrier champions that spawn in on this round will not try to enter the safe area. They will just hang in that middle zone, so don't worry about them. The person looking for the flank can help damage the enemies coming through the middle door, which is nice, but the main role for that person should absolutely be to keep watching the flank. They can come quickly. And you'll see I actually let one kill me in 1 second here, so it is extremely important. There will be another set of overload champions that spawn in once every enemy is cleared. So we just made sure to have a harpy alive, just chilling there while we regenerated our supers and collected ammo. Keep rinsing and repeating here. Phase 3 will bring out both the boss and the mini boss along with wyverns and 4 barrier hobgoblins. The strategy here remains the same. 1 person watching the flank and 2 players guarding the middle doorway with as many stasis turrets as possible. My recommendation is to not use your supers on the boss for damage if you are using damage supers, that is. Supers should be strictly used for emergencies because they will absolutely happen. Having a Mobius quiver or something like that ready to go can save the run. Once the mini boss and boss are cleared and all champions are down, you will get the platinum trophy completing the run. I hope you all are able to clear the Glassway this week. It's actually a pretty fun strike, and I hope that you all get God roll DFAs on your first try. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and look out for my other Grandmaster guides as well. Last thing I'll say is we are approaching 500 subscribers, which is just crazy. Once we get there, I will be launching my Discord, which I'm extremely excited about. So stay tuned. I will see you all in the next video.